for a couple minutes. You're live.
Oh, well, hang on. Good morning, Chi-Town. What is good? We are Windy City Fantasy back at you for another Sunday, Week 9 Stardom Situm. I am your host, Steve, dropping the beats and dropping the sounds. We got Elliot, and with a sad emoji face, little trinkle of the tear. Unfortunately, we will not be having our Moose today. He is out, but we will see him back at next week for our Wednesday, Thursday shows and Sunday again. So fear not. I am here to help you out. So if you have any questions or comments, please jump right in and give me a shout. Remember, follow us on Instagram. Email the show, windycityfantasy@gmail.com. We will be streaming live on YouTube as well. And then follow us on Apple Pods or iHeart if you do not have Spotify, because we also on Spotify. Guys, it's going to be coming up soon, but below me on the ticker is going to be the players that are out this week. I will tell you that currently players in, we have old man Des Bryant. He was activated from the practice squad. He will start today against the Indianapolis Colts. Antonio Brown, fresh off his suspension and with the love and likes of Bruce Arians, will start today against the Saints. Philip Lindsay, who's been questionable all week with a toe injury, he will start. McCaffrey was activated from his IR for the high ankle sprain. It's kept him out since week 2, I believe it was. And Mike Thomas is back as well. And for those who own Matthew Stafford, he has been activated from the reserve COVID-19 list, and he will start today against the Vikings. A great streaming option against a porous, weak Vikings secondary and defense. If you believe Stafford will produce, which I believe he's a sneaky play this week, even with Kenny Golladay out, the smooth routes of Kenny G. Also questionable so far is a game time decision. Keenan Allen with a sore throat. Now, this cropped up on Saturday morning. He did get tested. It came back negative for COVID, but they have to run more COVID tests prior to game time to make that call on whether he's good to go or not. So luckily it is an afternoon game. Make sure you have him slotted in your flex spots. And then if he is out, then make the change right away. Before we get into locked and loaded, Elliot, I don't know if you're still kind of listening. You'll be jumping in and out here and there. All right, so he's not there. So
No, I'm here.
You snagging again, bud?
No, oddly enough, I'm working on my locked and load.
None says last minute like last minute. So I figured I'd switch it up really quick. Normally we talk Bears at given the last few minutes of the show, but I want to talk quick Bears before we get into locked and loaded. And I wanted to ask you this question is, what do the Bears need to win this week to regain ground and try to climb their way back to the top of the division?
They need to. They got to scheme better for the players that they have now. So we talk about the offensive line all the time. We don't want to beat a dead horse, but like we're missing 3/5 of the starting offensive line, if I'm correct.
So that is correct.
You gotta do the best you can with who you have. So essentially, make it easy for these guys to just come in, next man up, and give a decent pocket to Nick Foles. There's going to probably be a lot of 2 steps and out, 3 steps. There's not going to be too many attempts at going long, which is why I'm kind of wary about Darnell Mooney. Mm-hmm. But if we can get him involved in the intermediate game, then he can be highly effective against Tennessee and just in general, period, because I really think that while Darnell Mooney is, I don't want to sound blasphemous, he's not I am horrible with names. And this guy, he's the Devin Hester. Well, he's not Devin Hester in the sense of
Speed.
He's better than Devin Hester in his route running and in his ability to catch and target the ball. So if you can get him involved in any way, shape, or form, other than as a deep threat, which like for right now he is because he's a rookie. He's a guy that you can use to take the top off the defense, even though he's not even though he's not your fastest guy. He's just really smart at it, and he's a precision route runner for a rookie. So, as long as you follow the game plan and scheme accordingly, it's gonna feel like a long game, but yeah, it'll work out for him in the end. Also, you gotta run it, even if it gets you 2 yards net every time, because then that's going to open play action, and that's going to at least give you the ability to give some space for open throwing lanes, and will buy Nick Foles some time in the pocket, move the pocket around as well. So, those are some of the things that I would expect someone to do with the limited amount of talent that they have today. Will we see that? Probably not.
Right.
And probably, in all honesty, probably not.
The one thing the Bears I feel like they can't use the excuse of like, oh, well, our starting lineup or offensive lines had been out because of COVID. Like, we're going to give them that they're going to have problems right off the bat. So what I don't want to see is other mistakes, like lackluster playing from the running back, mistakes out on when passes are thrown, or not reading defenses correctly. Those are the things that those mistakes can't happen, because you can't afford those mistakes given the fact you have a second and third string line coming up. First question we got off the bat, Elliot, is a quick flex. By the way, what's up, Jay? Philip Lindsay or Gus Edwards? So with the news that just came out, because I just got the alert that Mark Ingram was out because he'd been questionable all week, it's a tough sell on the Gus bus. I do like him, but that Colts run defense is pretty stingy.
They've been good all year.
There's already been a lot of hate towards Lamar Jackson this week, and one of the things that Lamar Jackson does best is he runs. So it's going to be tough going. I think they're going to have to open it up somehow through the air, but it's going to be split between Gus and J.K. Dobbins. Both running backs had shown good production last week. Obviously, Gus Edwards had the better fantasy day, while you have Philip Lindsay going up against a terrible Atlanta defense. We always talked about that anytime that you face an Atlanta defense and you have to go with every player stacked against the Atlanta defense. Last week, up until Lindsay kind of left the game, he was leading carries and touches over Melvin Gordon. But that still doesn't mean that Melvin Gordon's still not going to see any looks against that Atlanta defense as well. So
in last Thursday's game, it was a combination of Carolina's running backs, and Atlanta couldn't really do anything about it.
Right. So if I really had to go with a surefire, I would lean towards the Lindsay side based on matchup. As far as what have you shown me, I really like Gus Edwards. So, but I would always take the matchup dependent player over what have you shown me. So I like Philip Lindsay this week.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Philip Lindsay as well. Sneaky play on a running back for that game, Lamar Jackson. Because, and look, I'm not trying to be like that guy, but if there's anybody who's going to get run, whether it be quarterback delays or just anything that Lamar is able to do, Lamar might be the key to that game to getting the running backs like free. So
it could be, but
he's not a running back. So take that with a grain of salt.
Jay, the word on Michael Thomas is he is active this week. So I think he's going to go full Hamburglar, just like McCaffrey this week. I mean, this is what the Saints had wanted. They wanted Mike Thomas back, especially for this game. This is a division rival game. This is who sits atop in first place. This is GOAT versus GOAT, if you will, because you can't discount what Drew Brees has done in his career. And to give a guy back like Michael Thomas is amazing news. So expect him, and I expect both him and McCaffrey to go full Hamburglar and just steal away all the fantasy nuggets.
I'll tell you what, Michael Thomas's next catch is going to be his first catch because he's been gone for forever. So when he gets out there, he's going to be itching. Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball.
Oh, yeah.
The work rate for Michael Thomas is probably going to be phenomenal. Still no Emmanuel Sanders because of COVID. Look out for now the Saints have a weapon. If they had Michael Thomas when we played them, we probably would have got slaughtered. So
yeah, it would have been a much for like that. That's my thing, because they really didn't have to worry too much about who Drew Brees was passing to. They just had to find a way to stop Kamara, and they still couldn't really stop Kamara when he had 9 catches for over 80 yards. Excuse me. Where this week they face A.J. Brown, Corey Davis, and Derrick Henry. And they're really going to be focused on trying to stop Derrick Henry or find a way to stop Derrick Henry. And I think that's going to leave a lot of spots open for guys like A.J. Brown and Corey Davis, because Adam Humphries, who starts with an Humphrey, who is out this week. So I think they're probably going to slot the safety up more, bring him up more to the line to try to cover those gaps or get in quick to Tannehill or try to stuff Henry. It's going to be a tough go for the Bears. But I hope things work out in their favor. They put up a hell of a fight only to fall short, and I still think it's ineffective play calling on Nagy's part, but we can only beat so much of that beat that dead horse so much as well. And without further ado, Elliot, it is time for Locked and Loaded.
You could ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
That is right, you punks and punkettes. Are you feeling lucky this week? Do you like the players that you have in your lineup? Are you itching to figure out who to slot more in your flex? Who should be your second wide receiver? Do you really trust the fact that Jordan Howard can just fall into the end zone and get you some fantasy points this week? Well, we're here to help you because we got our 4 locked and loaded players this week. And again, unfortunate that Moose can't be with us here today. I know, Jay, you missed your little skip, little skipper. But he did message me his locked and loaded picks, one of them that we agree upon. So I'm going to start in that position right there, Elliot, and that's going to be tight end position. And it's going to be Evan Ingram. Now, I will say this, that I know we don't talk about – so when we talk about tight end, there's the good, the bad, and the fugly. And Ingram's season has basically put that and a hashtag 2020 in a nutshell for his season. But listen, don't fret, because Washington's defense, although has been a little stingy with the run and pass, has averaged 10-plus fantasy points per game to opposing tight ends. And again, I get it. The good weeks haven't been there for him, but with no Tate and the fact 7 targets per game, but that's just the average he's already had. He's already gotten 2 games of 10-plus targets and 2 games of 8-plus targets this season from Danny Dimes. And he's consistently looking towards his direction. Another player that Danny Dimes has been looking towards since he's gone back from his injury is Sterling Shepard. So I expect a healthy complement of targets and shares between both receivers, but Ingram to come out smelling like roses in this game against Washington. Another East Coast division rivalry. You know how we feel about the NFC East, Elliot. It's a slugfest. It's ugly. It's not going to be the prettiest thing, but in the end of the day, somebody's going to have fantasy points.
Okay, so I'm going to make this real quick.
All right.
Real short, and people are going to hate me for it, but I don't care. Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith is my locked and loaded tight end. I know it's the Bears. I'm sorry, but just like Moose says, NFL glasses,
right?
Not Bears glasses.
Exactly.
Tight ends, while the Bears ranked 8 in the league versus tight ends on defense, they are the Achilles heel of this defense. If you've been watching, they have 5 wins, so you've been watching at least for a little bit. So if you've been watching, you've been noticing that whenever quarterbacks need to get key first downs, they go tight end or an effective play because that's the Bears. But overall, the Bears defense has been pretty good. But it's been tight ends that have been killing the Bears, especially in the red zone.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the one thing. They got enough on their plate that they got to try to cover. I think they're probably going to lean towards, we're not going to be worried about Jonnu Smith too much, and that's probably going to come back to haunt them. But, I mean, you can only stretch a defense so far, and you can only keep a defense on the field so long before they're so gassed that they're going to misstep in a play, and someone's going to break wide open. So
yeah, I expect Jonnu Smith to have at least 1 touchdown today.
Yeah, I mean, that's solid. I like that. We're going to jump over to QBs, the Quibbies, and Moose has picked Deshaun Watson versus Jacksonville. I really like this pick too. Coming off a bye, they're really going to need this win as the Texans are 1-6, and they're facing a Jaguars defense that not only got torched by a rookie quarterback, but they're getting torched by almost every other quarterback except Phillip Rivers. And they do give up a lot in the run as well. So it's going to be a healthy complement of Will Fuller, Randall Cobb, and Brandon Cooks with a good, healthy complement of David Johnson. And listen, Watson can run too. So he's going to run all day all over Jacksonville if he can't find anybody open.
Tanksonville. This is the battle for the best of the least.
Right? All it's going to take is
on the line.
All it's going to take is for the Jets to win this Monday Night Thriller against the Patriots. Jacksonville will lose, and then they're looking at a tie amongst the worst record in the league.
That would
it's
going to
be like,
thing to do.
Who gets player X, right?
That would be so Jets. To win this week, that would be so Jets.
That sounds like
Adam
a
Gase would
bad
be like,
spin-off
look,
show. That's so Jet.
Adam Gase could be like, look, we can do this,
right?
All right.
If we trade our best players away, we might be able to make this happen.
Just don't win.
I mean, listen, Sam Darnold is out this week. He's out again. He's out this week. So now you got Wacko for Flacco, and the Patriots' defense isn't horrible. They have their struggles offensively, but it's going to be a huge Cam day. It's probably going to be, as Moose would say, he's going to use the magic pen. I don't have a magic pen, but we'll just simulate. It's boom, Burkhead, or it's going to be James White. It's just one of those days. So I don't expect the Jets to be winning anytime soon. Nothing. They'll probably go 0-16, and from that, I am going to go with my quarterback, and that's going to be Josh Allen. Listen, Seattle's defense is allowing 25 fantasy points per game to opposing quarterbacks. They're second in the league for most passing yards allowed, plus fifth in the league for most rushing yards allowed by opposing QBs. Although Allen hasn't produced a 25-point game since week 4 against the Raiders, I believe he can do this against this Seattle D, who has real-world problems getting to the quarterback and hurrying him. So Allen should have all the time to sit comfortably in the pocket, maybe crack open a book, a beer, just to kind of sit back there, watch it, find an open receiver, or force. He's just going to easily scamper some yards. And it's good. I think it's going to be a good day for Stephon Diggs. This should be a great day for both Singletary and Moss. So yeah, this was a tough game for us to call when Moose selected this as one of the games, because it could go either way. Both defenses are playing horrible, and both quarterbacks are mobile, and they could put up a lot of yards.
So my quarterback is the timeless one, Big Ben. Dallas, as we know, sucks, to put it nicely. But they are 8th in the league versus defense versus quarterbacks. They give up an average of 19 points per game to QBs, but we're talking about elite QBs in this sense. And Hall of Fame quarterback Ben Roethlisberger is going to eat the Dallas Cowboys alive.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Same thing. You could stack guys against Atlanta. You definitely stack these Steelers against the Cowboys. Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, Juju, James Conner, Eric Ebron, Big Ben. Hell, even probably the backup running back for the Steelers will have a feasted fantasy day because this is a joke. Dallas decides not to go with a second week with Ben DiNucci, the Gooch, and decides to use starter Gilbert because he has more NFL experience than DiNucci. His 6 games to 1 game is the equivalent of a better resume of experience than taking your 7th round quarterback and trying to do something with it. I get it. When's the last time you ever seen a 7th round quarterback turn into an amazing elite quarterback?
Only once, and it'll never happen again.
Right? That's it. So, I mean, is this Jerry Jones doing Jerry Jones things to try to get a better draft pick? Or is this Mike McCarthy, who never should have been hired on as a head coach, doing those McCarthy crap that got him let go out of Green Bay?
I'm going to go with both.
Yeah.
I think that they don't want to pay Dak anyway, so Dak getting hurt kind of just helped them make that decision for them. Now, they may still tag him again in the offseason, but they are definitely looking for a quarterback. And if Jerry Jones feels like his odds at getting a better quarterback in the draft are better if they tank the rest of this year, then that's probably what they're going to do. And they got the right coach for it.
Yeah.
Because these players do not believe in McCarthy's system at all. And it shows because they don't want to play for him.
No.
Yeah.
This is definitely, it's like a civil unrest in the team. Nobody's unified in this. It's just straight garbage at this point.
It's like the Cowboys before they hired Jerry Jones. Essentially.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. All right. Wide receivers. What do you got for me, bud?
Tyreek Hill.
Ooh.
Tyreek Hill versus Carolina. Carolina is bottom 5 in defense versus wide receivers. And, it's KC. And they have, the obliterator, if we want to go with major league references at quarterback. So it was kind of just a layup for me. Just go with Tyreek Hill.
That's fine. Moods actually has DeAndre Hopkins. So DeAndre Hopkins is one and on top of the list for most receiving yards so far this season. Arizona coming fresh off a bye, a much needed bye to get a little extra rest, especially with his ankle problems. And so he's carried no questionable status throughout the week. He's been practicing. Dolphins defense is tough. All right. You saw it last week, what they did against the Rams. The Rams aren't like elite offensively, but they're tough and they got a tough defense. So don't expect the Dolphins offense to do a whole lot with the big tuna and Jordan Howard the Duck. But what you can expect is that they may cause problems for Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, and Chase Edmonds. But I feel that with this offensive system and the way they operate, even a good defense will have its bad days. So if you were at all worried about starting DeAndre Hopkins, don't be. Come on, you don't sit your studs. You play your studs regardless, no matter what. And then speaking of potential studs, I'm going to go into my running backs, Elliot, and go back to the Chiefs well as you started it, dropping the bucket in there. And I'm going to go with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Now, okay, so CH hasn't given you your full bang for your buck yet. But consistency in fantasy is key also. And what is consistent with CH is his 15.5 fantasy points per game, which makes him the 11th best running back this year. Not bad for a rookie, in my opinion. Now, the good news. Carolina is allowing the 6th most yards to opposing running backs and are tied for second for most touchdowns allowed and are giving up a tasty 23 fantasy points per game. I expect a beautiful game from CEA, slightly interrupted but not disappointed by Le'Veon Bell. If you were at all worried because of last week when everyone was hammering the table, banging the drums, talking about how this is the moment you can play both running backs with confidence because this is the Jets, Jets, and you got crapped on with CH's 6 points, I think he bounces back very nicely and scores, if not his average, but higher.
Nice. You want to go with Moose's or you want me to?
Yeah, I could drop Moose's in there. Moose's final player is James Conner. Like we talked about, stack all your Steelers against the Cowboys or the Cowgirls, and you're going to succeed. There isn't much to talk about with James Conner here. You know, it's an easy plug and play.
Yeah, this time of the year, we're in week 9. You essentially know who is who as far as like decent defensive matchups. There's the occasional breakout, but by now everything is pretty much kind of set in the way people operate. That being said, I'm going back to Tanksonville, and I'm going with David Johnson. Jacksonville is in the top 10 versus running backs, but like I said, this is a battle for the tank crown. The official, this is a battle for the hashtag.
Yeah.
So yeah, expect David Johnson to do it for you this week.
Nicely done. Again, I like that pick. You know, I'm in rare form today, Elliot. I completely skipped over my wide receiver pick. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it, right? Because that's improv. That's what you do. You just kind of roll with it. You know, you make a mistake, you get back up, you fall again. You know, just put a helmet on, I'll be all right. This one is definitely the epitome of a definition of, if I am correct, of pulling a homer. And those who are not familiar with Simpson references, it was a funny episode where the definition is to succeed despite idiocy. So by this pick, you may call me a homer, but I am going with Mr. Darnell Mooney this week against the Titans. The numbers don't lie, my friends, and he had his best week last week against a good secondary on the Saints defense. Foles has established a good rapport with the rookie. It can all go to Robinson, and no other Bears receiver. It can't go all to Robinson, and no other Bears receiver has stepped up. Not even like Jimmy Graham. I mean, because why do we pay $19 million for a guy who's 6'6" and is supposed to be a red zone monster? But I digress.
We can't get there. So
the added bonus is this. Foles, Mooney, and the Bears are going up against the Titans D that has allowed the 6th most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receivers and the 6th most receiving yards. Look what happened with the Bengals. Good example. It doesn't matter. This defense has their struggles, and the struggle is defending the pass. So while all eyes may be on Robinson and trying to double cover Jimmy Graham, so when they get close to the end zone, I think they're gonna forget about little Darnell Mooney, the little darling of the Bears, and I think he's gonna have a nice fantasy day.
Yeah, the only thing I'm worried about there is versus the Saints, they were weak against chunk plays, and the Bears had a better wide receiver, a better line that week, and we're only to take advantage of that matchup one time.
Be a better line than what we have here.
It might. You know what? In all honesty, it might be a better line. I know that Jermaine Ifedi's going to play, so he's going to be in his spot. Alex Bars, I think, is the center. He's been working with Olin Kreutz in the offseason for a couple of years now. So, I think some of these guys are just in the wrong positions. So, and I know what's his name, that was the defensive tackle that they converted, is going to be playing, but he's going to be playing at right guard at the spot that they actually trained in for. So, we could see a little bit of continuity and a little bit better of an offensive production based on the fact that these guys may be in the spots that they're supposed to be in. But like, you never know. It's Bears 2020. So.
Right. I do want to say that even though he's not here physically with us, he's still here with us on Facebook, and we miss you too, Moose.
Moose, man, come on. You know the rules. Hit the link.
Right, you know the rules. Accept the agreement so we can see you. It's messed me saying they kept kicking him out. That's all right, though. Before we wrap this up, Elliot, what one game are you looking at the most this week that may surprise you? Like if you have a front runner to like blow somebody out, but then you may potentially like end up with a surprise winner, a shocker.
Oddly enough, the Bears game.
Okay.
Only because of what Cincinnati did at Tennessee last week. If Cincinnati, mind you, while I'm not the head of this fan club, I'm definitely on the bandwagon of Joe Burrow. He's going to be a fantastic quarterback. So Cincinnati got one thing right. Now they just need to build around him. But yeah, man, what they did. But see, that's the thing. They have a QB.
Right? They have a QB. They're actually trying with some kind of line to try to make things happen. They got two really good receivers. One's a rookie, one's established, and then they have a veteran presence. So they have a lot of pieces going. But let's not forget all the bad years that the Bengals look like a joke. The problem is that like, when's our time to turn it around? Right.
So here's the good news. Well, we already talked about the bad news as far as like the normal stuff when it comes to the Bears game. And here's why I think this is it's going to be a sneaky good game. When the Bears got their ass whooped from the Rams, Nagy self-scouted and took plays from that game and used them against New Orleans, and they worked really well. So I'm expecting at least some kind of self-scouting and adaptability from Nagy, whether he saw a couple of plays from that game, because that's really what he is that his playbook is a collection of other people's plays. He hardly creates his own, but he picks really smart and really good plays. He just doesn't have the right personnel to run most of that stuff.
Oh, kind of like the movie Waterboy, where the one coach for the one school, took the other guy's plays.
Right, except he's not winning championships anytime soon until he gets the right players. So yeah, that's where I think the Bears will have an opportunity, because they could just go back and watch that Cincinnati tape and see exactly what Cincinnati did and try to adapt it. Now, Tennessee is probably going to be ready for it, but if we have the head coach that we think we have, then the adjustments should be there, and they should have an opportunity to win this game and surprise a lot of people. So,
yeah, for me, the obvious one that a lot of people are going to be interested in is watching the Saints-Bucks games. They're really going to be focused on that because, Fox is going to jump all over that, and Joe Buck's going to be slobbering, and Troy Aikman's going to be just done all over this game right here. So it's kind of going to take a little bit of the fun out of it. Actually, what I would like to see is this Raiders-Chargers game. This one, I think, is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Just because you got Gruden, you got Lynn, it's really going to be a head buster, and it's just going to be fun to watch. So if there's really I'm not going to be really surprised if either or wins. I'm just going to really enjoy watching this game.
And here's a sneaky hot take for you. Watch the Jets game. You're laughing, but it's gonna be. I'm telling you, the Jets are going to jet.
With the Jets, right?
I'm telling you that the Jets are going to jet, and I would not be surprised if they win this game.
I don't know. It's hard to believe that, because there's when you look at the personnel who's starting, who's playing, it's hard to see that they can actually. What is funny though is Vegas has given them a 7-point spread. 7 points, while the Cowboys get a 13.5-point spread. So that is the ridiculousness about how they view this Patriots team now, that they're just giving them a
No
meager
respect.
7 points, a touchdown. So
No respect for the Patriots anymore. All they have is a head coach.
for however long, maybe
So-
Robert Kraft's like, all right, your time is kind of done. You did a great for us.
I think he'll
but-
give him a couple. Yeah, I think he'll give him a couple years to still kind of like, because this. I mean, like in all honesty, like this year has been like the weirdest NFL year I've ever seen. So I would think that he would at least give him 1 or 2 more years to kind of figure out that situation, especially since like there's going to be no combine this year when it comes to the draft. So
Yeah.
they're not gonna. We're not gonna have really any footage for them to look at. It's going to be mostly private workouts, and so
it's going to
hopefully,
be really tough.
yeah, you're going to have to rely
I
on
think
last year's film.
I think teams are going to really rely on the free agency pool this year, and
Oh yeah,
see
definitely.
a lot of franchise tags because they're not going to be able to afford to lose a lot of personnel, and they're just going to go from there because they'll have more evidence from that than they will get out of these rookies.
It's going to be the equivalent of a keeper league this
Yeah.
year for the NFL offseason.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have today. We hope you have a wonderful Sunday. Good luck in all your leagues. We'll be back Wednesday live, Facebook, Go Bears, and we'll have our normal show up on Spotify, Apple Pods, iHeart, and YouTube for Thursday. Right, Elliot? Or we'll have
So I've been really busy, but I just put up week 7 and I'm working on week 8 right now. So everything will be caught up by Wednesday as far as the podcast and the Spotify stuff goes. Because
Yeah,
all the live shows go up too.
Yeah, so we'll be back on track starting this Wednesday, guys. So from all of us here, Windy City Fantasy, myself, our missing Moose, hashtag we miss you, Elliot, stay frosty, Chicago.
Bear down, ho.